Well, I said it at the beginning of the season, ladies and gentlemen, that it was imperative for the Buffalo Bills to find a contract extension for Christian Benford. And the proof has been in the pudding for quite some time, even reflecting back to the most recent playoff loss in the AFC Championship against the Kansas City Chiefs. As we saw Christian Benford get carted off of the field, and then afterwards, our entire defense ultimately ended up falling apart, where we gave up 30 points to the Kansas City Chiefs, where they only ever accomplished that 2 or 3 times in the 2024 season in and of itself, which gave you the perfect sense of proof why Christian Benford was so important to this defense. Well, I got to tell you what, we have locked down our CB1 to a 4-year, $76 million contract extension. Now, I'm sitting here looking at the spot track specifics, and while there are none of the nitty gritty details, which we are all looking for, what is guaranteed, what have you, the only number we are seeing is $19 million average annual salary. And I'm sure all of us know that I am not a fan of this number because I do not believe it tells the full story. But even if we were looking at 19 per, where Spot Track had his value closer to around $23.5 million, we saw the likes of Derek Stingley and J.C. Horn just, I'd say about a month ago, signed $30 million average annual salary contract extension. And let me tell you what a damn steal for the Buffalo Bills. Brandon Beane continues to impress as we were sitting here all offseason knowing that we had to make some difficult decisions on who was going to be extended, who was not going to be extended, and somehow we figured it out. And somehow Christian Benford wants to win, where he ended up taking the 12th highest salary in the NFL, where, quite frankly, I think that he should be in line with J.C. Horn. I do think that he is actually valued from a talent perspective of the likes of a J.C. Horn. Maybe not quite a Derek Stingley, but at $19 million a year, an absolute steal. I'm very excited to unpack exactly what this contract looks like, what it means for the future. We have our CB1 locked down all the way until the year of 2029. And then obviously we need to address the elephant in the room. And that elephant in the room just so happens to be, what about James Cook, running back who took the internet by storm by saying he wanted $15 million per year as a running back. And then Brandon Beane had something to say during the annual NFL meeting, which is currently taking place right now, in which that we will unpack here shortly. Shout out to everybody that is tuning in. If you are listening on Spotify and or Apple Music, welcome. I highly recommend that you leave a rating and review. And shout out to everybody that is currently watching me live on YouTube right now. As you guys know, I go live each and every single day, Monday through Friday, sometimes a Saturday or a Sunday, depending on how I feel. So smash that like button for me. It's the easiest way to show love around here. And also, when you subscribe, make sure to turn on bell notifications so you never miss an opportunity to introduce yourself in our live chat. As you know, I really love to yap for about 10 to 15 minutes about the topic of the day. And then I allow my live audience on YouTube to take control of the conversation. Shout out to everybody in here. I see some familiar faces already. Man, I am looking forward to this right damn now. But anyway, as we can see, the Christian Benford contract, like I said, Spot Track is still yet to release the specifics of this contract. However, with their estimate, and I do think that this makes a lot of sense, we're probably rolling with the exact same base salary that he would have earned if he were not to be extended in the first place. So about $3.2 million base salary, signing at 48. His cap hit will only largely be around 3.3 this year, depending, of course, on how much guaranteed money this young man was paid. We will wait for all of the other specifics, and we will dive into exactly what this contract looks like once it is all said and done. But Christian Benford, man, welcome to the damn Buffalo Bills, at least all the way until 2029. Can the man stay healthy? I think that is the question all of us are looking to answer. Now, when it comes into James Cook, right? Because I feel that this has been a very controversial topic since he took to social media a couple of weeks ago. Or, I mean, damn. I mean, maybe it might even be closer to 2 months ago when this all happened. But look, I think Brandon Beane made it clear. He was asked during the NFL annual meeting specifically about James Cook, whether or not that they are currently working on a contract extension. And he said, I think we're good on extensions right now. And we are shifting our full focus over to the NFL draft. So if you were to ask me what I think is going to happen, I think the most likely thing that is going to happen is that he is not going to receive a deal this season at all. That is most likely, right? Because we knew going into the 2025 season that we had a lot of names that needed to be addressed. At Gregory Rousseau, and not necessarily because he has been playing scorched earth and he's one of the best edge rushers in the league, but he had something like a $14 million cap hit this year. We needed to extend Gregory Rousseau just so we had a little bit of spending money for this free agency period. That's why he was so important. Shakir was also very important as well because he is wide receiver number one for this team. It is statistically proven that he is Josh Allen's favorite target where it stands today. Terrell Bernard was just a cheap extension. And to be honest with you, he's been playing very well. And I think that we got him on an incredible deal. And then Josh Allen, obviously, had to take care of our quarterback. At one point, he was the 12th, 13th highest paid QB in the NFL. He's still not close to Dak Prescott. He has the most guaranteed money, which I think that we can all agree. I think he deserves it. So we're fine in that category. And then last but not least, we got Christian Benford, right? So I feel like our team is locked down for the future, especially in the youth game. And I'm very happy about that. Technically, we could have had a conversation with McGovern as well. He is going to be a pending free agent. I believe it's in 2026. He could potentially be a guy that we could bring to the table. And there's a couple of names next year. But with James Cook, that's the most likely, right? That he is going to play on the final year of his rookie deal. And might I say, it's not like we are paying this man chump change by any stretch of the imagination. When you look at James Cook's contract on Spot Track, folks, he's set to earn about $5 million this year. Now, obviously, this is all pertaining to the fact that he does play. So the whole crowd that believes that he might sit out, like not play a single game, it doesn't really behoove him to do so. Because number one, he has never had a big contract to fall back on. That is something very notable that we can point out. And then number two, he does not earn a single penny unless he is out there week 1 through week 18. His salary is based off of actually showing up, starting, being a game 1 starter, and then various other elevators of what he could potentially line up. If James Cook does not play, he makes a total of $0 in 2025. And I'm not necessarily sure that that's something that he would be willing to do. So we can take a look at his contract because I do want to make sure that I am correct here. And surprise, surprise, look at that. I am. $5 million. $5.2 million base salary is owed. Signing proration, that was already paid to him. Cap hit about $5.7 million, right? So most likely outcome is that we do not pay him. I do believe he will be on this roster. We've had a couple of conversations of, will James Cook potentially be on the trade block, right? So we could move up in a round or two. Folks, I do not believe that James Cook would be much of a pawn in the metaphorical game of chess when it comes into the NFL draft for helping us move up specifically in the first or even the second. But I do think that he could potentially be used to get us up into the third, maybe trade up into the second. But this is obviously just speculation because I do not believe that that is going to happen. I think what is going to go down is this year he's going to play very well. I think that he will have very close to 2,000 all-purpose yards. I think he will go out and put up a show when it comes into the touchdown machine, similar to what he was in 2024. and then we will revisit the conversation in 2026 in that offseason. If we can't re-sign him, then you know what? Might as well target a running back in the late rounds this year in the NFL draft, because God knows this class is deep as can be, and or just return to the drawing board the following season. We were going to have some difficult conversations at the beginning of this offseason. I think we were all prepared for that. And it looks like James Cook is the odd man out. Now, folks, I'm going to transition over to the live chat. And do me a favor, sound off in the comments for those of you that are watching live on YouTube, and tell me exactly where you are tuning in from. I am always curious to see how far Bills Mafia extends. There's several times where I tune in and I see my good friends from New Zealand. I see them all across the pond in the UK. I've seen Germany several times. I've seen them spread across all the United States. Sound off on this beautiful Monday morning and let me know where you are tuning in from. Always love to understand that. I do need to give a giant shout out to today's sponsor that just so happens to be William Mattar Law Offices. Folks, if you are ever hurt in a car, you better call William Mattar. #1 car accident attorney in the state of New York. I would never wish this on anybody, but in case you were ever in the unfortunate scenario of a car accident and you come out injured, you have to make sure you have the right representation. Look no further than my guy, William Mattar. Thank you so much for sponsoring today's episode. Let's see how everyone's doing. Man. Oh, man, we have a lot of roll calls in here already. I absolutely love it. We have Buffalo, New York, straight in from Joseph Norris. Hope all is well up in that neck of the woods, my friend. Iowa, Michael Klein, what is going on? Braden, Tucky, Florida, Dennis Craffett. Hope all is well with you this morning, my friend. South Jersey, near Philly, better than gold and silver. What is going on? In enemy territory, it looks like. Well, I'll tell you what, based off of how the NFL sort of competition committee votes on the tush push, it sounds like you and Philadelphia fans will certainly have something to agree on, because we'll see if that comes to fruition. Mafia Madness is coming out of Allentown, Pennsylvania. We have Marshalltown, Iowa. We have two Iowas back to back. You gotta love it. Colorado, go Bills. Dirty Jersey. Good morning from Colorado. Oh, man, look at that. We got Florida in the chat from AD. Sweden, my guy William from Sweden. What's going on? Cook makes the catches. The Carolinas, Dr. Jekyll. I like that. He's a man of privacy. He is a man of privacy. He's like, good try, FBI. Not finding out where I am. Lackawanna, New York. Let's go, Dan. Dirty Dan 716. I appreciate that. Hey, from Jacksonville, Florida. Randy Prokes, what is going on, my friend? Happy Monday. Salem, Virginia. Jonas, Rochester, New York. Virginia Beach, Buffalo, New York. Go Bills. Lackawanna, West Palm Beach, Florida. Rochester, Forestville, New York. Born in Buffalo. Oh, my God. Susu. Speaking of my boy Susu from New Zealand over here, man. All right. Just dropped 17 doll hairs in the super chats. I appreciate that. You guys have a solid future on defense. 1, Benford on the outside. 2, Taron Johnson in the slot. Draft an outside corner to pair with Benford. 4, draft safety to pair with Hamlin. Susu, damn, man. First off, I cannot thank you enough for coming in and showing a little bit of love in the super chat side of things, man. 17 doll hairs. Gotta love to see it. But yeah, man, listen, I said at the beginning of the season, I said that my #1 priority for an extension was Christian Benford. I think that he is wildly slept on. You look at the advanced metrics, he is right in line with PS2, specifically on DVOA, preventing separation, which is an insane stat. And it's something where I'm surprised he doesn't get more national recognition. And the fact that we got him for $19 million per year, too, which is insane. I was anticipating, if we were to find an extension for him this season, I was guessing 23, 24. But I think that this really goes down to what his priorities are. Because you know for damn sure he knows that he's worth more than $19 million per. And granted, I have not seen these specifics as far as how much was guaranteed for him. But I think this contract tells us that this guy just wants to win. and he's not particularly concerned about being top 3 in the NFL for payday. So 19 is absolutely insane. Now, what does that mean for the draft, right? Because a lot of us, like, we've been sitting here like, oh man, like, what do we need to prioritize right now? I think this is interesting, right? Is CB2 that much more imperative? I think that it is, right? But again, when everybody comes out and says, hey, you know what? Like, we need the CB2. Like, we can't have Dane Jackson rolling out there. Like, we'll be screwed. I always like bringing this up. Last year, we were number 1 in turnover differential in the NFL, right? Our CB2 at the time was Rasul Douglas, who did not record a single turnover all season. So what exactly are we trying to replace, right? I'm not saying that I wouldn't like a CB2 in the first round. I would be thrilled as long as it is one of the dogs, as we have discussed ad nauseum on this channel. But intriguing. And then safety with Hamlin, I think it's more of a Cole Bishop future, if you know what I mean. Midnight Strikes Back just came in. Hey, what's up? It's been a while since I caught a live stream. Well, Midnight Strikes Back. What's going on with you, man? I am enjoying this actually really shitty day in Florida. It is foggy as all can be. Rained yesterday. So we're going through some sort of storm system up in the Panhandle. And I'm desperate for some sunshine, baby, obviously, as my pasty white ass loves to talk to each and every single one of you. Oh, man. I saw one comment in the live chat that I wanted to get to. Maybe we'll go. Walt has come in and said, Pats fan, but I rock with all the roundtable guys. Walt Liquor, I appreciate that, man. Welcome, welcome, welcome. The Pats have been making some interesting moves. And I can tell you that you will finish above both the Jets and the Dolphins this year in the 2025 season. We have Deoxys 9999 is saying, Bills Mafia, what is the definition of a successful season this year? Is it winning the Super Bowl, or is it having a nice 13-4 record and losing in the playoffs again? It's tough to say, right? Because I think it all depends on what your preseason expectations are. Last year, when we lost virtually everybody, I think you would ask a lot of Bills fans and you would say, what would you so identify as a successful season? And I think hopping into a time machine and asking just a random Bills fan, hey, man, how far do you see the Buffalo Bills going into the playoffs? And I think a lot of us probably would have said we'd be lucky to make the wild card round, or like we would be lucky to win one playoff game. It just depends on the expectations, man. Listen, I need to see what the draft looks like right before I give it to you. I think where Buffalo is currently, say that it's not a Super Bowl victory, then we're kind of at the place right now where it's a failure, right? It's kind of because, say, for example, that we do get past the Chiefs. We do make it to the promised land. Like, we do end up playing right by Josh Allen's hometown in the Super Bowl out in Santa Clara. That would be great. But does Buffalo truly want to go 0-5 in Super Bowls, right? I'm not sure. And to be honest with you, like, this is a very unpopular take, but I would almost rather lose to the Kansas City Chiefs again in the AFC Championship than go to a Super Bowl and go 0-5. That's kind of where I've thought. Spidey Button is coming in, my boy out of Tennessee. What's going on, man? What do you think Cook's contract should look like next year if he does as good, if not better, than last year? Then I would say he is due $15 million per year. Then, if Cook can do the exact same season and put up the exact same production, actually, I'm going to take a step back. If he can increase his production by 25% compared to last season, $15 million per year, 3-year deal. That's what I would give him in 2026 if he could do the exact same thing. But I'll be honest with you, I have a feeling he's going to have a great season, and that I think that some other team is probably going to pay him some absurd contract. That's kind of my theory. I'm having a hard time seeing the Buffalo Bills sign him this offseason. If we do, it's going to be something that was significantly less of what he was looking for, and likely it will be done prior to training camp. Dexy Gaming has come in with a mock draft. He likes these mock drafts, man. Damn. All right, brother. Dan, my Bills mock 7. Trey Amos, cornerback. A lot of people like Trey Amos. I'm a big Trey Amos guy myself. Landon Jackson, defensive end. We have Isaiah Bond, wide receiver. Joshua Farmer, defensive tackle. Okay, we waited to the 4th, but I do like Joshua Farmer, so I'm not mad. Billy Bowman, safety. Jamari Caldwell, defensive tackle. Double dipping at the defensive tackle position. Willie Lampkin, guard. Jaden Blue, running back. Sean Dolak, linebacker. And Isis Waxter, CB. Damn, man. Listen, I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Max Franklin has just come in and said, I really don't see why we don't just pay Cook what he wants. We have to stop thinking about him as a running back and start thinking of him as the second best weapon on our offense. $15 million per year is absolutely nothing. Man, you know what? It's funny because James Cook is a very polarizing topic amongst Bills fans, right? A lot of people really agree with you, right? Where they say, listen, screw it. A running back $15 million a year type contract is nothing compared to what we are seeing QBs or edge rushers or wide receivers or corners, for that matter, collect at any given season. And then there's some Bills fans who come out and suggest, look at our offensive line. Look at how productive Ray Davis was last year in 2024 with the limited snaps that he had. Look at how productive Ty Johnson was, RB3. We were talking about, hey, we have the best RB3 in the NFL in Ty Johnson, right? It's tough to say. Is it truly James Cook? Or are we entirely confident that if, for example, that Ray Davis had the exact same snaps as James Cook, that he would not have had a similar season? It's up for debate. It is up for debate, and I love hearing feedback from both sides. Susu Boki, hey, Dan, do you think that Cole Bishop needs to step up this season because last year he was terrible in coverage? Just a question. Susu, my boy with the great questions here. So when I look at Cole Bishop, man, like one of the worst coverage specs I remember was him getting burned in Houston. It was ugly. Very, very ugly by Nico Collins. Went out there, had him burned by what seemed like 20 yards. And that's obviously an exaggeration, but make no mistake, it was ugly. I did like what I saw. I saw from Cole Bishop toward the back half of the season when him and Taylor Rapp had to start running duos together out in the backfield. I think Cole Bishop is my target to have the annual Buffalo Bills second-year player jump for Cole. And I do think that he will be the starting strong safety once Taylor Rapp's career in Buffalo is over. I think we're going to see a hell of a lot more of Cole Bishop. Do not be surprised if the safety tandem this year is Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp. Now, granted, like Bean could go out there and throw a damn curveball, and we could walk away with Malachi Starks or Emin Wari out of South Carolina. Then come back to me with that question. But say that that's not the case. Do not be surprised in the slightest if Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp are the safety duo in 2025. Scott has come in with a $10 donation, and I really appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Bishal Tootin, running back from Virginia Tech. This guy ran a 4.32, best of all the running backs. He finished 183 carries for 1,200 yards. I think this was just for 2024, and all 4 seasons over 8,000. I mean, look, we could go out and pick so many different running back prospects all the way down to the 5th round, and there are some ballers. Say that I had a favorite, and I really haven't done or put a lot of effort into looking at some of the later round running backs for this team because I am just that much convinced that James Cook is going to play on this squad, right? Whether or not that he's on a new contract or whether or not that he is regretfully or reluctantly playing on his final year of his rookie deal. But say that I had to pick anybody, somebody who I really like is Ollie Gordon. Love that player. Third round talent, maybe. Fourth round talent, maybe. It just depends on how the board falls. Again, do not be surprised if a lot of these running backs that everybody is salivating over fall significantly, because when you have such a deep class and a deep representation within this overall class, that's when you see a lot of players that you would have sworn were to go in the second actually end up falling into the third and or the fourth. But we will see. Ethan NFL 27 has come in and says, I love Cook, but I think we're going to just keep on recycling running backs. After Cook leaves, Ray Davis will start. And when Ray Davis leaves, we will draft a new guy as well. I mean, look, I think James Cook is a very talented running back, and he had a great season last year. And I anticipate him to have another great season for us this year. But hold on. So is anybody like surprised here? It's like, why do you think that Ray Davis played so well last year? With the limited snaps that he had, right? Like he had limited snaps, but his numbers were insane for the amount of touches he had. Like, why do you think that Ty Johnson, who was an absolute nobody prior to the Buffalo Bills, right? Like, why do you think, for example, like Raheem Mostert or a Matt Breida? Who remembers Matt Breida, right? Like, why were those guys dogs in San Francisco, but then when they ultimately ended up going to a different team, they were like, whatever. I think offensive line plays a role in this, folks. There's no question that Ty Johnson has been great for this Buffalo Bills team, but is he really that good? Or is it largely the offensive line? It's up for debate. It is up for debate, ladies and gents. Dexy Gaming, Dan. And you got to check out Waxter, cornerback. He reminds me so much of Benford, and not only because they both played at Villanova. I love it. Spin has come in and said, yes, we are currently paying offense $145 million and defense $95 million. We keep falling short of the playoffs because of the defense. Let's pay Cook and our offense and have the offense make $160 million a year and defense 80. All right. That right there was our daily dose of sarcasm from our good friend Spin. What's up, Spin? Hope all is well. Dr. Jekyll, I agree, Max. We wouldn't have made 4 straight. So without Thomas, we're not going back and winning one without a top 10 running back. It's kind of hard for me to like point out and look at the Buffalo Bills offense as into why we didn't make it to the promised land last year, right? It's very difficult for me to do that. Need some defensive personnel and depth, for the love of God, because we all know that our defense plays so physical. Like we are always in body bags as the playoffs sort of go into it. I don't know. And so I believe the 49ers have the best third string running back in Mason, and Mason was the third string running back for the 49ers before McCaffrey and their backup got injured. But so I argue with that though, right? How much of that is the offensive line and offensive line coaching, right? I feel like when you see quality offensive line production, you're almost always going to have a running back crack 1,000. I feel like almost always that is going to happen. Like you very rarely see a very like an elite offensive line have a absolutely terrible person. I don't think so. The O-line helped Johnson wheel in some of those catches. No, not at all. But like he was very productive on the ground too. Matthew the fourth, Dan, Bills fan from South Florida. F the Finns. I got a question. My live chat does not work on the AFC East roundtable. It works on your live chat and your other live chat. I don't know why. Matthew, I'm going to have to look into that for you, my friend. We will solve that. Mario, 15 million is too much for Cook. He had 18 TDs, but Allen could have easily taken most of those with his arms/legs. Cook is great, but he's not a third down back. With 17, it makes no sense to overpay a running back. Mario Demita, he's coming in. He's saying, listen, like Cook deserves 15, but just not from the Buffalo Bills. Not from the Buffalo Bills, man. Listen, I can appreciate that. Dirty Jersey. If Cook was on the same level as Saquon Henry/AP and you pay him, he just simply isn't a generational back. Sorry, not sorry. We have Dirty Jersey in here, man. He is feeling some type of way about our good friend James Cook here. It's tough to say, right? Because like you look at a Saquon Barkley of the world, and like now he's finally paid what he's truly valued at, right? Like 20 mil. Yeah, he's worth that. And the more the cap goes up, like, look, say that the cap goes up another 30 million next year and Cook goes above 25% of what he did last year, a 25% margin increase in all of the statistics he put up last year, I will then give him $15 million a year. Why not? You know? Don't fix what's not broken. If he is that productive, why the hell not? But who knows? And listen, I'm not even saying that he could not get an extension this offseason. He very well could, right? Like we could see breaking news right around training camp that we agreed to a deal with him. But again, I don't think it'll be 15 per. I feel like it'll be more around the 10-ish, 9-ish, something like that. Susu with another 17 doll hairs. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. I see what you're doing, by the way. One thing I have to say is when it comes to contracts, once you pay your star players, it must, but you never know that somehow suffer a season ending. It's true. Listen, man, like this Buffalo Bills team has seen this happen so many different times. I feel like once we ended up giving the bag over to Tre'Davious White, that was the end of the beginning. And he had so much potential. He was a dog, and Trey White, unfortunately, could not get off of the injury bug, man. We're going to see. At that point, Cook will ask for $20 million a year. Then he'd walk. Zay1 Klomb. And do you know what's tough to really say? Is James Cook better than his brother Dalvin Cook? And compare both stats in their beginning years for them and look at where Dalvin Cook is at now. Practice squad. Look at that. Go Bills. I don't think Cook will get re-signed or sit out. So I do think he'll get traded in the draft for a second rounder, and then we can trade up in the first because we have 11 picks and we're not drafting 11 guys. Bro from Facebook just came in. People seem to forget that with all we say about what he is worth until James took the leap and our offense wasn't two-way productive. But if we are smart, we either trade him and fast, or we will have a bad training camp. I feel we wouldn't skip a beat, really, right? As far as a trade, like what's going to happen is that like there's no way that there's going to be a James Cook straight up for an additional second round pick. That's not going to happen. We could potentially give James Cook in like a couple of fourths or something like that to slightly move up in the second round, but like a pick swap for James Cook, especially with a class that's that deep in running back, I don't think that we're going to see any sort of capital like that whatsoever. What's most likely going to happen is that maybe James Cook will sit out like during mandatory minicamp in June. But then I think he'll show up to training camp, right? I feel like he'll show up eventually. That is where we're at. Dexy Gaming. Dan, so when I play Madden, I always go O-line and D-line first in fantasy drafts, and it never bites me in the ass. It never does. Dude, it's always the trenches. AD 23. And do you see this Cook situation getting ugly real quick? If you were Cook, what would you do? Well, I'll tell you what, AD, that is a great question. So here's the thing, right? He is due $5.2 million this year as a base salary. If he hypothetically holds out, then he does not receive a dime of that. And he also has 1 year where he's not putting up statistics. And let me double check something real fast. James Cook. Hold up. He's 25 years old. He's going to be 26 this year. On September 25th, he will be 26 years old. So you're telling me that he's going to sit out an entire season in 2025, no statistics, not make a single dime this year, and walk into the following year at age 27 and expect a team to go out there and give him a $20 million contract. Come on. It's not going to happen. I feel like the NFL world has seen way too many Le'Veon Bells, right? Like they've seen what a year off for a running back really looks like. And you also look at what happened to his brother after he ended up getting over. Like, look at that. Like, Dalvin Cook is 29 years old, folks. He is 29. And did you know that? He's 29 years old. Like, dude was washed out of the league when he was 27. Right? Like, dude did not get a single snap. / very many from the New York Jets 2 years ago when he was on the squad. He's 29. That's crazy. Think about that. He's 29 years old and he has not been a name for about 2 years. So the fact that James Cook is going to be 26 this year and he wants to intend on sitting out a full year, not earn a dime at all. $5.2 million could have very easily been deposited into his bank account. He's going to sit out a full season and then expect the team to pay him a big contract after that? Please. No. So I think that if I'm James Cook, like what I am doing is that, so I'm just putting a smile on my face and I am going to work and I'm having a hell of a season for the Buffalo Bills. And so I am going to make the most out of every single handoff that I have and then make it worthwhile. Make it be like, you know what? I am worth $20 million per year. And whether or not that Buffalo pays him it like in free agency, that's a different conversation. I'm sure another team will. So that is what I would do if I was James Cook. I do not think that it benefits him even in the slightest to sit out in 2025. Dexy Gaming, Dan, can't we just tag Cook next season? So the Buffalo Bills under Brandon Beane has never tagged a player ever. Last player to ever be tagged was Cordy Glenn. I think it was 2016, chat. Yeah, let me know. I feel like this team just doesn't use the tag. It's not a part of Brandon Beane's philosophy. Steve Mills, Josh Allen, the train, and Cook shovels is Cole. F that. And never compared Thomas with Cook. Total diss. Offense runs throughout and always will. Period. Chill. Sweet baby Ray Davis is the future, probably. He is nice. YG Future for Life has just came in and saying draft LaQuint, Allen, 4th/5th round. That's our replacement. More than 1,000 rushing, 500 receiving, and he is 20 years old. William, this is my boy from Sweden, has come in with a statement here. He says, let's say it was a weak running back class this draft, then it would be a no-brainer to extend Cook. But when we have two good backup running backs and a very strong running back draft class, it is the perfect opportunity to replace him. Interesting. Drew D, this type of content and thumbnail would make an MF sit out. Damn, shaking my head. Would make an MF. Oh, man. Dude, I promise you that Dan Mitchell's titles and thumbnails are not affecting anything. I can promise you that. Matthew Melita, Bills would be dumb to pay him big based off of a one good year. He scored just 2 touchdowns the previous 2 years. I'd accept a new deal if he repeats what he did last year. Bro is coming in and saying, yeah, but that had a lot to do with Minnesota absolutely rushing him way too much. And the great thing about James is that we do have a deep running back room, which allows us not to run him into the ground. But let's not forget, if he shows up and balls out, we really will lose him because we're not paying $20 million a year. I mean, hey, dude, listen, it's going to be a hard decision, a hard pill to swallow for a lot of us. It just depends on what's going to happen. That's what I was saying, Dan. Compare both brothers and Dalvin and James and look at where Dalvin is at the practice squad. And here's the deal, too, right? So is it fair to compare James Cook and his brother? No. Not at all. But do I think that's going to stop some front offices from thinking that way? No. Life, unfortunately, is unfair, right? Me personally, I hate when anybody compares any sort of blood relative in sports. All across the board. Someone's just like, oh my God, Dan, like we got to draft this running back out of college. He was roommates with Thurman Thomas's third cousin. You know he's going to be a stud. I hate that because I think that everyone is an individual prospect that brings something different. And there's a lot of context that goes into everybody's career as into when they begin to regress. But unfortunately, that's how people think. That's how front offices think. And I do not think that a front office or several NFL organizations are going to be lining up if, for example, he decides to sit out this entire year, put up zero production. When he gets signed again, he would be 27 years old, 1 year not playing football whatsoever. So I think that there would be a lot of question marks about whether or not that he's at game speed. Maybe one or two teams would be interested for a workout, but like he definitely wouldn't be the first name that you see in free agency on March 10th, 2026. Definitely not. But it's just how people think, you know what I mean? Dexy Gaming, Dan, don't know if you watch the UFL, but Puka's brothers went crazy yesterday. Puka's brother went crazy. I do not watch the XFL. I feel like I need to, though. Susu, is it me or is Cook basically carried by the offensive line? It is a debate, right? It is a debate. Yeah, for real. Chris Haynes. What's up, Chris? Dan, what's up, brother? I'm having one of those days where nothing is going right. Tell me something good about our Buffalo Bills. Well, first off, Chris, I do want to tell you something, my friend. This is hopefully just some motivation for you, right, bro? You have gotten through every one of those days in your life. Every single one of them. You are batting 1,000. You kick bad days in the fucking teeth. Bad days fear you, Chris Haynes, because you always end up rising from the ashes. And you defeat them each and every single time since you have been born. So I promise you, my friend, you never have bad days, Chris. And so you only have a bad hour or a bad minute / a bad moment. I promise you, my friend, the light is at the end of the tunnel. And as far as the Buffalo Bills, man, we locked down CB1. That's Christian Benford, baby. He is locked in and make it happen. Oh, it's beautiful. Mario is coming and saying, I'm still pissed we didn't get Brian Thomas Jr. And so I know Bills wanted him. I thought he was worth trading up for. I think Bean regrets he didn't do it. Would have been a perfect for the Buffalo Bills. So Brian Thomas Jr. and Ladd McConkey were the two wide receivers I really wanted. And we got Keon, right? And so I'm not mad at it. It's definitely not a Brian Thomas Jr. / a Ladd McConkey type production we got in 2024. But then again, with Keon was hurt for about 4 games. So let's be patient and see what his 2025 year brings to the table. And hopefully Brandon Bean absolutely hits a damn home run. Dang, Dan's preaching. Dude, damn, baby. Talk about it, man. Dan, I love watching the UFL because there is some gems there. That's how I learned about Jake Bates before the Lions got him. Matthew, Dan should have told this to T-Bass before the kick. Oh, my God. Inception 877. So I have a feeling that Bean is going to use Cook as trade value in the draft and move up somewhere. It's a hot take, man. Some people have been talking about it. Will Shedeur Sanders be the Bronny James of the NFL? No, I don't think so, man. He is actually a really good prospect. I don't know. I love Cook, Ty, and Ray, but man, I would love to see if we could get something going with Gore Jr. Ryan is a Gore Jr. believer, man. Can Gore Jr. come out and be that guy? I don't know. All right. Last question, folks, and then I am going to wrap up today's episode. Obviously, I will be live on Roundtable Sports Fourth and Forever. That is our daily NFL news show that is live Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. EST. I sincerely hope that all of you are in attendance. And then I will also likely be live a little later this afternoon to discuss the history of Brandon Beane's draft classes. Is Brandon Beane a terrible drafter? We will unpack all of that later. And I cannot wait. Last question. Go Bills. If Cook gets 2,000 yards, at least 1,500, then Buffalo shouts, give him a contract because running backs are expensive. Oh, I don't even know. And then last question I lied from Keith and Suzanne. What is going on? Does Ryan from Toronto or any other OBL regulars chime in here? I haven't seen any. Thanks for the episode, Dan. Susu, no problem. Folks, again, I am live all the damn time, Monday through Friday. Always early in the morning, sometimes later in the afternoon. So say, for example, you're new here. When you subscribe, make sure that you tune on bell notifications because I want each and every single one of you to be a part of my live chat community. It is largely what drives this show. For those of you that are listening on Spotify / Apple Podcasts / wherever you listen to podcasts, do me a favor and leave a rating and review. And also consider coming on over to YouTube so you can be a part of the live conversation that we have Monday through Friday, oftentimes twice a day. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you guys on Fourth and Forever a little later. And go Bills. Peace.